Good evening. You're flying with Pod Squadron podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy Pod Job standing by.
This is Tracy, Pod Tracer, standing by.
And this is Lexi Padme standing by.
All ships to attack formations. Mission objectives to talk about Star Wars in movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art and inspiration from a galaxy far, far away. Today's flight plan includes The Bad Batch Season 3, Episodes 10 through 12. We're finally catching up. And for all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram. Find us on YouTube, like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader for today. I'm Andy Liu, aka the Chinese Pirate, director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. On my wing is Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy, also known as Hot Nerd Girl. I am a farmer and front yard remodeler and all-around nerd girl who occasionally emerges out into the world.
And on my other wing is Lexi.
Hi guys, Lexi Feral Geek on Instagram and Facebook. I am a nerd who doesn't do indoor nerd things. I do things like find the other people at Burning Man events that have R2-D2 backpacks, and I design cosplays that I cannot afford. That's my hobby.
And of course, we are just one squad in this fleet. We are part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on YouTube and on Facebook. Find us and follow as foils to attack positions. We are going in. All right. So we are finally getting ourselves caught up here. We're right about to go into the final stretch with the last three episodes 13 through 15, which are coming out. And of course, it's the end of this series. And after that, of course, we'll be looking forward to Tales of the Empire, which will be very exciting coming up as well. We missed Lexi the last show, and I know Lexi,
she was out chasing the eclipse.
You're chasing planets and moons.
Yeah.
But you know, I know you were very excited about the Ventress episode.
Oh, I was so excited. Oh, I'm still excited about it.
Did it deliver?
It did. I like that they kind of gave her this haircut that sort of was a little more rebel, a little more reminiscent of like Omega, the odd child out. I realized, when they're talking about her blood and the M count, I went, oh, if this is what I think it is, like the reason for her being special has been staring us in the face all along, with her name being Omega, which like with blood is universal, and then like her deal being with the M count in her blood. So that's a whole little thread that was in my mind that got followed up on. I loved that they gave Ventress one of the gold purified sabers. That just made my heart so happy. I was wondering what color they were going to make her saber, and I feel like they kind of teased the saber reveal, but when they did give it, like, that was great. She was showing so much more restraint than she would have, but she's still sassy. Like, I can see why she knows Fennec Shand. Of course they know each other. So yeah, that really tracked. And she still has that Force user thing of like, I'm just gonna mess with the kid and kind of haze them a bit with the like the stand on the rock, it's slippery, stand on the rock, kid, balance this thing on your head. Anyway, yeah, I was really excited to see her, the acrobatic, like I watched the brawl a couple of times then, and it
was a good brawl.
So
good ball,
because there's really not a lot of people who could just kind of take Hunter and right, take the guys for a ride, literally. There's not a lot of people who do that.
Well, and showing much restraint too, all things considered.
knowing her, showing a lot of restraint. So you got a lot of character evolution from her, which is really cool, and it sets up a lot of questions, and hopefully we get to see more of Ventress, because she is my favorite sort of morally gray Force user.
Yeah, and I do, yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder what is next for her character. because it did. There was just a little bit of a vibe of like soft spin-off pilot
Mm-hmm.
with that that I was just kind of sensing, right? But
Yeah. You're sensing that through the force. I was too, especially the way that they have had her with, the big sea creature that she accidentally summoned. I don't think that Ventress before would have been capable of communing with and calming an animal. She probably, if she tried to commune with it, would have made it angrier. Um,
She
you
seemed
know,
like she surprised herself
yeah,
with that.
exactly. And so I think I would love to see them explore that, where she's able to do that, where she's like, well, you know what, here goes. Oh, that worked. So that would be very interesting to me to see.
well, and then of course we do know we did see a quick glimpse of her in the Tales of the Empire trailer. So I am curious, as they deal with what they do with her, what they plan to do with Barris Offee. Will their paths cross? That's all very interesting setup there. So
Yeah, there's a lot of good potential in that. I'm excited. And as sad as I am to see Bad Batch go, I'm glad that they are tying it up pretty neatly instead of just kind of letting it drag on. I love an ending with a purpose. So, you know.
yeah, indeed.
And much like
Um,
other kid series, it's getting very dark.
yeah.
It starts off very light and it's getting
Yeah.
very dark.
Yes,
We're kind of like
counting on the kids that grew up 4 years in maturity, or I guess 3 years for
kind of
this.
like the experience of being a preteen, and like, you're an adult and things just keep getting darker, don't they?
Yeah. Well, that said, that's a pretty good lead into episode 10, Identity Crisis. Hello. Whoops.
Hey.
Some technical
Technical
difficulties
difficulties.
there.
Oh, Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Okay, okay. What is the jinx thing? Is it oh you a Coke, or is it you're not supposed to talk?
I thought it was Jinx, you just owe me a Coke. Like if you say something at the same exact time.
Yeah,
Although I prefer vodka laced items to Coke.
that's fair. Yeah, no, because for me when it was always when I was growing up, it was always jinx, and it was like you couldn't talk until someone said your name.
Oh, no, I thought it was always Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, let's get back into this.
All right.
So we're talking about Identity Crisis, episode
Yes.
10. Tracy, do you want to give us a little recap here?
Sure. I'm going to base it entirely on my notes.
Do
All
it.
right. So we start off in space Nepal, and there's a little baby critter, and it wants its toy and it can't reach its toy, so it breaks the vase. And all the people are like, don't say anything, don't say anything. But then there's this Aqualish, because apparently Aqualishes are like the douchebags of the series. And he has a Russian accent, which is really weird. But he calls for a class 1 bounty hunter because he's hoping to get some quick dough.
I kind of
And
wonder how an Aqualish talks with an accent with that just tongue sticking out. You definitely talk like this.
I know.
I mean,
I know. But it kind of had a Russian accent, right? It made me wonder if they were kind of like implying some stuff, right? And usually it's Star Trek that's into the current events, but
yeah, that was very topical of them.
Although I will say that Star Wars is not always super PC when it comes to accents on characters.
No, it is not.
Any hooters. So we get Cad Bane and his robot Toto, right? And he collects the baby in sort of a Grogu-like little carrier and knocks the mama out with a stun when she was gonna like hit him with a snow shovel. And then we end up at Tantus, which is where
Cad
we have.
Bane. I don't know if he just knocked her out. It was Cad Bane. I don't know.
I really hope, because he was gonna test the baby, and if he tests the baby and it's not really, then obviously he would just leave the baby with its mom, right? I would hope that Cad Bane's not that awful.
I mean, he's Cad Bane.
It's debatable, but I did appreciate Toto being like, I'm not a nurse droid, and then being like, oh, here's your stuffed animal. Pretty good. So then we're on Tantus, right? And we get to see what's in the vault, and it turns out it's like these 3 kids that are primary colors. And we've got Eva, who's the red Hitachi, which is the same thing like Jedi Master Sayasi 10. We've got Jax, who's a green Miralin, like Luminar and Dolly, and Barriss Othi and Vernestra Rowe. It's going to be in the new High Republic series. And then we've got like no-name blue kid, who is probably a Pantoran, like Senator Chuchi, or like the George Lucas prequel character who was like a Baron or something. Anyways, so we got like all the colors of the rainbow going on here. And the reason why there's kids is because there's hardly any adult specimens left, because I wonder why. Thank you, Jedi Purge. So then Emery's like, hey, I need, Nala Say's in prison. Don't you trust me? Like, I'll be your new head scientist. And Hemlock's like, all right, you're in. So then Emery goes to visit Nala Say because she was really surprised it was all kids. And Nala Say kind of implies like that maybe even Emery has some power. I was a little like, I wasn't sure if she meant like that she has like the power to help the kids, or if she has like some kind of power, kind of like Omega in a way. Maybe it's just kind of like hidden underneath. I don't know. Anyway, we'll probably find out about that in the next 3 episodes. So then Tarkin calls, and he is all mad because Hemlock has all this budget and he wants all the budget for the Death Star. And Hemlock's like, well, this comes from the Emperor, so you can suck it. And Tarkin's like, fine, whatever. So then we get Hemlock calls up the clone assassin, who may or may not be Tech. We don't really know yet, but probably is Tech. And he sneaks onto Fee's ship and gets information about where Pabu is, and which maybe he says that he got it from like an informant, which I'm wondering if that's the green lady from the bar in the first season that became really attached to Omega. I can't remember her name, but anyway, I was just wondering that. And then Emery gives Eva Omega's straw doll. So she's obviously starting to waver in her convictions. And that's probably where the title of the episode comes from, which is Identity Crisis, because, Emery thinks that she has like her mission, right? But then she sees these kids and she starts to feel empathy for the kids. And so she's, and by her giving Eva Omega's doll, first of all, she kept Omega's doll. Second of all, by giving it to Eva, she's like trying to provide comfort to a kid that she's supposed to stay very emotionally distant from. So anyway, that's kind of where that episode ends.
Yeah, there were a lot of interesting moments with this. A lot of character development for Dr. Carr, right? As she's kind of questioning her own place in all of this. I was really interested by the scene with her talking to Lana Say after she's kind of seen the kids and kind of starting to question, what the Empire is doing here, and there was a real interesting like bit of bitterness that she I can't remember what exactly the line is, but she kind of infers about how she felt abandoned by Lana Say.
Like
And
Nala Say only cares about Omega.
yeah, and I kind of wonder more like where did she get the name Dr. Carr from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was she raised
Because she's a
by
clone. Yeah.
she's a
Yeah.
clone, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, so it's like where's the last name come from? Where was she abandoned to? And what is this kind of resentment she holds towards Nala Say? Um, uh, was interesting, but of course, also seeing her, knowing that Nala Say is kind of her only confidant in this, and as she's having kind of an ethical dilemma, seeing the kids.
I really enjoyed I really enjoyed I mean I've increasingly enjoyed Nalase's character,
Mhm.
and I really loved the way she read her lines this time because
Very slowly.
but it was there was almost this little like I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, like inflection to each one, because I feel that you'd seen them butt heads over Omega's treatment in the past and how she was handled. Um, and obviously Nalase was acting with knowledge that Emery didn't have. So, I kind of love that she's, coming to her like, hey, I didn't know these were all kids. And then, you have that moment where she's like me when I was taken. So it implies right there that there's already empathy, for these kids, because she had it's implied a childhood controlled by or isolated by the Empire had a major role in her being isolated or not having a normal childhood, which was I think part of the reason that I feel like Nalase's tone was a little bit, dare I say, caustic with her, because she seemed so surprised that they would be holding these children for testing indefinitely. Meanwhile, Nalase is kind of going, well, you saw how they treated Omega, and apparently why are you surprised?
Right.
And do you realize that the only reason children like this make it is because of people in the position I was in and the position you're in? And I actually did the line that you mentioned where she said, do you have that kind of power? I actually personally did take it as okay, now you see the position I was in. How will you walk this difficult line? You saw what I did. You saw where I am now. So where do you pick up from where I left off? Do you leave these kids completely at the mercy of the Empire to protect your own skin? How far do you go to help them? How far can you go to help them without revealing yourself and then leaving the kids with no one? And so now she's, I think, realizing you're going to understand the position that I was in.
Yeah. Yeah, that little challenge to her was also just very interesting as well.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. Like, okay, now you understand the real moral dilemma. What are you going to do about it?
Because Eva, she's just gonna dig right in there, right into those little heart ventricles. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And when they're sitting at this adult furniture and their little legs are hanging down, and it's like,
yeah, that's another really good detail in
and they're
terms
bored playing like
of kind of
the
showing them in
tests.
spaces that were not designed for them very clearly.
And they look so bored.
Yeah, also, Ava, kind of goes through this thing, through this transition where she's like, she meets Dr. Carr, Emery, for the first time, and she's like, oh, you're a new person, whatever. And
I like your glasses.
yeah, I like your glasses. And then Hemlock, just stone cold. It's like, we don't use names; they are specimens. and his rationale about how, because they don't know what's going on, they are more they're easier to process, right? uh just really icky.
Yeah. I'm really sensing some yeah, I'll wait on that. That's a whole thought thread that's pulling together a couple things. We'll get to it.
Yeah. um yeah, this was a cool episode, and just yeah, and just impressively dark.
Oh, and of course the whole, when they're younger, they're it's easier to get them to comply thing. Then, like,
Yeah,
that ties the thread together for Cad Bane going to pick up the even younger kid.
yeah, totally. um and they deliver that kid to Hemlock at the end of this episode too, right? Is it
Mm-hmm.
that is
Yeah.
this episode or the?
I don't remember which episode it was. I just know that, it's kind of just, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Of course, like, yeah, of course the even younger kid is gonna get delivered to.
Also
I think
just,
she had to kind of like restrain herself from calling it a child, and
yeah.
calling it
Yeah.
a specimen instead.
And of
Sorry,
course,
I cut out for a minute there. So
and of course they do that, so that they after her meeting with Nalase, so now she's got all this going on in her head as she sees this even younger kid get pulled in, and she's like, oh no.
it's just a baby.
A baby.
I know. And I love how yeah, I can't remember if this is this episode or the other one, but how Cad Bane is like, hey, you don't want to know, right?
Yeah,
Like, don't get
right.
attached. You don't ask too much information. If you want to save your own skin,
What
just
does he say? The
Oh,
questions
be
you ask
ignorant.
tell the questions you ask tell more about. Oh, it was a really
you.
great line. I
It
can't
was
remember what
so
it
good.
was.
It's like, yeah.
The questions you ask say more about
uh,
I can't remember it.
but I mean, it was essentially warning her, be careful, you're giving away more about yourself with those questions than you're learning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're giving away
Yeah.
more than you're getting. Careful, girl.
And
Which
he's
is
also like, she's like, is this your first? And he's like, let's just say I'm very good at my job.
yeah.
All right. Let's jump to episode 11, Point of No Return. Tracy, you want to give us the recap?
Sure. Okay, so the clone assassin has stolen the coordinates to Pabu because obviously their priority is to get Omega because she obviously has the M counts that are stable. So the Bad Batch and Omega are planning on leaving to save Pabu. And I think it's Leanna, right? Shep and Leanna, I think, is the mayor and
Mhm.
his daughter. Like, she shows her like their little treasure room, which has all kinds of little Easter eggs in it, like the frog eggs, and like a skull of like one of Batcher's hound breeds and things like that. Anyway, which Batcher seems to recognize, but Omega adds Tech's goggles and her Tuca doll to this treasure room, which automatically to me is like, okay, what's going to happen? Because these are obviously two very important
Yeah.
parts of like what they just carry around with them.
Yeah.
So then we get to see the clone boys from a few episodes ago that were kind of abandoned on the planet, and they're eating the ice cones, right? Which Wrecker would like two of and wants them to bring back. And so Wrecker's the only one at the ship. And of course, he's like the explosive expert, right? So he sees something and he so adorably like makes sure to grab Gonky and like pull him out, and they get exploded back. But, he saves Gonky and he saves himself. And this just sets off like a huge fight on the island. And we see, an Imperial ship, and it like, again, I know this isn't my favorite animation style, but I've grown to really appreciate it in the Bad Batch, especially what they've done with some of the lighting and just the overall picturesqueness of it, and we see the light coming down from this Imperial ship and
Oh, that was
all of
such a
the
great
little
shot.
ground ships coming down, and just the lighting was just beautiful. And it's kind of like these troopers and the clone assassin against these town people, and Shep is the mayor, and he's like, what are you doing? And ultimately Omega decides that she's going to give herself up in the hopes that Crosshair will be able to put a tracker on the plane, which is really putting a lot of faith in Crosshair right now because of his shaky hands. So she does not able to he's not able to put the tracker on the ship. It just sort of like little limp dickness right there.
It's sad because it's not even really his fault. Like he gets ambushed, and by the time
right,
he takes care of them, like they're out of range. It's really
right,
sad. It's
right.
really sad.
Exactly. So, and Omega seems to realize this because she's like, but she, the goal is with that, she tells Crosshair, like, basically the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I'm just a small part of this puzzle. We got to do it this way. And Hunter has like this super badass scene where he's like surfing on containers and like kicking ass and taking names. The clone assassins like shooting down the pilot just to like take Hunter down. And it's just like kind of this epic battle scene. And this is what the point where it's like, Voldemort comes back and it's like, okay, shit's about to get dark, right? And it just like, oh my God, okay, this might not necessarily be like an episode that's appropriate for kids under a certain age. And that's pretty much where is it this episode where Hemlock shows Omega where she's going, or is that the next episode? I think
That's the
it's this
next one.
episode. Oh, it
think,
is?
yeah, it's the next one.
Okay. So Omega's just like in the plane or the ship on the way back to Tantus.
I think it ends with them taking her away, basically. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and their ship's destroyed, right?
Yeah.
So, and the three things that we actually care about, Gonky, the goggles, and the doll, are the things that are saved, right? Yeah. So there was like some foreshadowing with them taking these things off. Anyway.
Yeah, I definitely. It's like they're definitely like indicating they don't want us to forget about tech, right? It's like there is some kind of tech mention every single episode this season.
Oh yeah,
so
when he calls him brown eyes, the goggles are right there. Yeah,
right. So yeah, so that's definitely that chess piece is in action. Also, yeah, I mean, just the kind of brutalness of this attack, taking out all the ships, all the docks, and so that there is no escape off this island. Yeah, I mean, it is fairly intense.
I think it's really meaningful that Omega makes this request of Crosshair because they're the most recent to become close.
Mm-hmm.
But she asks
to put trust in him, yeah.
Because she asks him, even though she trusts him to care about her, to back her up, to be her brother, she also basically appeals to this, like, look, Crosshair, we all know you're the cold one and that you're going to be able to see what I see here, that we can't do this the soft way. And and she in the past would have been the one who's like, no, we have to save everybody. There is no, like, let's figure it out. And he'd be the one making the tough call suggestion and she'd be fighting him. And now the roles are reversed. And she's kind of like, look, which calls back there earlier, like, something kid. And she's like, I'm older than you, So it's a little callback to that, but it really kind of shows how much she's grown as a part of the team, where she's like, brother, this is your strength, the one that can make these tactical, difficult decisions.
Yeah.
And being so insistent that she has to save the clones that are still at Tantus.
and she knows that he'll understand that on a certain level too, having been imprisoned himself. So she's like, look, like, you know how bad this is, like, we've got to do this. And I think, you know, even if it had been Wrecker or Hunter available to her to talk to, if all three of them had been there, she probably would have been like, Crosshair, you know, we got to do this, let's go. So I thought that was fitting and really well done.
Yeah, my only beef with the episode is, I mean, you know, they can't do it, but it's like you'd think it would be consistent with the Empire to, after they take her away, they just bomb the crap out of the place and just leave.
Yeah.
Right? You know, that they would leave anyone alive at all is surprising, but you know,
Yeah.
convenient. But it's like, okay, plot armor, it's fine.
Yeah, we'll call it a budgetary decision. They didn't get quite that much from Tarkin for the recovery operation, so they didn't want to waste the munitions.
A lot of good action in this. Very well paced. You know, and I know it's interesting in that this season it's like, okay, we lost Omega, then we got Omega again, now we lost Omega again. That is
like
a little
3
bit,
episodes later.
yeah, I mean that is a little bit annoying, but I understand because they needed to get, you know, Crosshair into the mix with the rest of the guys, and you know, it's like
it's all gonna end in Tantus or something,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean they had to get they had to move the chess pieces around. So you know, I buy it, I get it. Also, yeah, it leaves a little, you know, you know, I'm giving them a pass on it.
What are you thinking? Who's X2? What do we think about who X2 is?
Tech.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, they're indicating
heavily foreshadowing it.
Very hard.
Heavily foreshadowing it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
because
a clone of him, right? Not
clone
of him.
necessarily.
I mean,
him.
I also thought about a clone of Crosshair would be interesting too.
Oh,
Andy, you are right
that would
behind
be
your
scary.
microphone, and it's
Oh.
hilarious. There you go.
Microphone Andy.
Yes.
No, they're totally
Very-
buckying him.
Yeah,
So yeah, he's gonna like Winter Soldier it.
totally.
Exactly.
What if it's a Crosshair and Tech mashup?
No, see, that was my thought too, because they keep making a point of Crosshair saying he's showing his hand,
Yeah,
and he's showing that like he got, you know, experimented on his hand, and his
Mhm.
hand shaking. You know what I mean? So I think it's gonna be a Crosshair and Tech like combination clone.
I think it's just Tech. Peter thinks it's going to be so sad when Omega kills him and realizes it's Tech. I think Omega's going to kill him.
It's gonna be
I mean, now
so
we are
dark.
getting dark.
It's so dark. That's
Yeah.
one thing. Okay.
She takes
Yeah,
off his helmet and it's like, Tech.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's what
I
I'm
wouldn't be
thinking. That's what
surprised.
I'm like. It feels so ominous. These last,
yeah.
all these last few episodes just feel so ominous. Like something really bad is gonna happen, and it's gonna like
So bad.
break our hearts.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
you know,
what if
and
the last
even
episode is
even
just,
still,
like,
right?
devastating?
Like another kind of like clue that's out there is how would CX2 know that Fee would lead him to the island planet unless Tech's memory wasn't a little bit in
Mhm.
there.
Well,
right?
he got information that there was a pirate that had the coordinates. So that's
Well, that's what he told.
That's
That's
not
what he told
necessarily-
Hemlock, but
That's
Yeah.
what he said, yeah.
but
how would
still,
you-
it's definitely Tech.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but I think we covered that episode, right? It
I
was
think so.
definitely much more about action beats than it was about
Mhm.
kind of plot points. But okay, let's get into Juggernaut. The
All
Juggernaut,
right.
bitch.
Yes, I thought of that.
They named it this right after X-Men 97 comes
I
out
know, right?
on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Of
Oh
course, our
God, don't
brains
get
are
me
gonna go
started on
there.
X-Men.
Oh, oh
Ugh.
no!
I'm
Wait,
triggered.
is that exasperation or love?
I'm triggered.
Ruh-roh. I'm
You,
loving
you,
it.
you haven't watched last week's episode, have you?
Is it the one with the dancing?
Yes.
Yes, I've seen it. I've seen
I
it.
haven't seen that one yet, you guys.
Yes, that
Contain
was
yourself, I
very
have to-
triggering, I will say. That was.
The
That
whole
cannot
thing.
be the end all be all. Anyway, we're
I
not
mean,
gonna
it's not,
spoil
but
it. You know how much I hate spoilers.
they did all the things. They did all the
All
things.
the
Good
things.
God.
Yes. Okay, episode 12.
Yes.
Juggernaut. Okay. Well, first of all, the Juggernauts are actually like these transport vehicles, right? We see one in Rogue One. That's what they break what's her name out of? Jyn.
Jyn Erso,
What's her
yeah.
name? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they
So
originally designed these for episode 3, and they ended up I think they cut the scenes, but they ended up repurposing these models. We also saw there
for
was
Rogue
kind of
One,
a
yeah.
there was also kind of a train heist-ish episode of Mandalorian where we saw one too, right? Remember Mando
Yes.
takes off his helmet and
Yes, there was that.
Was that
yeah.
the same vehicle?
Right.
yeah.
I think that was the
Oh,
same.
okay.
It was a fuel tanker though at that
And-
time.
And it
Yeah,
was,
these are A9 turbo tanks.
Yeah.
But they nickname them Juggernauts.
Well,
remember
I mean that one was carrying fuel as opposed to prisoners.
Prisoners.
I remember that episode being really cool because, you know, like Mando's on it undercover and they're getting attacked by raiders and
Yeah.
it's the Empire that bails them out. And so you have this really
Right.
that, you know, they obviously don't know he's undercover and not one of them. And so you have this really weird moment of like, oh, thank goodness the troopers are here. Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, and that was also that was the episode the first time where Jyn Erso, or not Jyn Erso, where Din Djarin
There we go.
takes off his mask in public. That was the whole thing with what's his
Yes.
name? Ben Burr says, I didn't see
Burr.
anything. Put your mask back on.
Yeah.
Bill
see-
Burr.
Bill
Bill
Burr.
Burr. Yeah. Which we may have seen him in cartoon form in this last episode. There was
yeah?
people coming out of the transports, and there's like this bald human who just like shoves past
I'll have to check
one
that
of
again.
the Greedo aliens,
No, that's funny.
and it looks kind of like Bill Burr. So
I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to
maybe.
check that out.
I mean, this would be before. Is this before Cinder? Have
It
they
would
done
be. Yeah.
Project Cinder.
I thought that as well. I thought Bill Burr would show up. That was like it looked the same, and I think it's the same, right? It is the same place,
It's the same work
I
camp.
gotta go back
same
and
work
rewatch.
camp, right?
it. I gotta go
I
back
would-
and
Yeah,
rewatch
it's a
I-
similar one. I don't know if it's,
It's a
the same
similar
one, but it's
but
similar.
I did have a feeling. I thought that there was going to be some kind of Bill Burr tie-in.
Oh, so we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Oh,
I should
We are okay.
I should talk about the episode because okay. So Wrecker and Hunter are like, man, like I can't believe you let Omega go, and you know, like we don't even have this tracker. And Crosshair's like, well, there's like one last ditch option that we could use, and that's Admiral Rampart, which, if you remember, he was the one who refused to call clones by their like chosen names and only would call them by their designation number.
Which is a
And
great callback
he's-
back to season 1 of the series. So it's like brings it full
Yeah.
circle.
He's the one that destroyed Camino. He's the one that destroyed Camino, and he's the one that got thrown under the bus, and the Emperor was like, hey, you know, imprison him. And so he got dragged off in the middle of the Senate. So anyway, so they decide that they're gonna break Admiral Rampart out of this work camp so that they can have him tell him where Tantus is. And so they take one of these A9 turbo tanks, which is being used as a prisoner transport.
Well, they also first of all they get Fee. Fee shows up because otherwise they don't have a ship. They have no way of getting there. So
That's true. Yeah. And Fee's hiding her ship in the same cave that it's the same secret cave that everybody seems to use. Okay, so so the work planet is Erebus, and so basically it ends up with a tank race, right? And you see lots of like Indiana Jones style
Star Wars monster truck rally kind of
train
thing.
robbery type shenanigans.
Pizza
And
monster
at the
truck rally.
last, huh?
Pizza monster truck rally where they're like driving up.
Yeah, exactly, with
Yeah.
these tanks. And then and oh, and Fee free falling her ship to the surface. I can't forget that part. She basically turns everything off and just lets her ship fall so that it looks like falling debris. And she even puts her foot like underneath the brake to keep like to prevent it from breaking. Anyway, so there's a tank battle on the bridge. At the last minute, Fee swoops in. They manage to get Rampart off, and he basically says, well, nobody really knows where it is. Like that's kind of like the trick of it is that it's always hidden, but there might be a way to find out. And that's kind of where the episode ends. We don't really know where that's going to be. We also see Omega land on Tantus, and Hemlock show her, like they test her again. Sure enough, her M count is stable, but we see Emery kind of, as soon as Hemlock's in the room, she straightens up and she's like, yes, this is what it is. And as soon as he's like, that's what I thought, she's sort of like, ah, like, I don't want to be telling him this stuff. And so Hemlock takes Omega to the vault, and all the other children see her. And she's like, what the hell? There's kids here. And the green kid, Jax, is like he's not even playing with his toy, like his puzzles. He's just sort of like still recovering from being stunned or something. I don't know. And I think that was the end of that one, right? It kind of ended there.
So I already feel like they're setting it up for Omega and Jax to rally the kids and pull off some kind of Home Alone escape kind of stuff. And then what I was saying with, like, it occurred to me, this was the episode where the way that they phrased Omega's importance to the project had me go, oh wow, like the importance, like her importance was staring us right in the face with her name the entire time. O type blood is the universal donor.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the universal stabilizer.
Well, and Hemlock does like the classic villain trope where he just tells her the whole plan.
Yeah, tells her the whole plan. But I mean, I thought that was really cool where I was like, oh, Omega.
Hello.
Like, oh,
am I frozen? Am I frozen?
Frozen. We
can hear you,
but we can't see you.
Oh,
like,
so you can hear me being like, I'm frozen. I'm
frozen. Yeah, it's like bad ventriloquist Tracy, where your mouth's not actually moving, but we can hear you. Okay.
So you heard the part
of
like the classic villain.
Oh no, she's freezing again.
Trope of telling her the whole plan.
Yes, he did his monologuing. He was monologuing, as they say in Incredibles.
He was monologuing. Yeah, he got caught monologuing. I think that's probably going to bite him later.
Yeah. So, very interesting. I just thought it was very cool that they brought it back to Rampart. That there is a certain closed loop happening there with that. Yeah, very interesting again watching Emery interact with Omega. That brief little interaction where she says, I'm glad you're safe, and Omega asks, am I safe? And Emery is just like silent and can't really answer, which is
feeling guilty.
Yeah.
You should. Should, Emery.
Anything else in this episode that stood out to you guys, or things you're interested in or found fascinating?
I mean, the way that your one beef with that episode was that the Empire really left everybody alive, was that all of these characters that we've seen dealing with the Empire, knowing how shitty they are, like having been themselves children who were treated like property by the Empire, are going, oh, shocked Pikachu face, they're experimenting on children. I'm like, come on, guys, you had to see this coming. This really can't be that surprising to you. You know the Empire doesn't give a rat's ass about children, like a womp rat's ass about kids. Come on, like it's not that surprising. So that's my one thing where I'm like, the shock that all of these main characters are having about there's kids here. I'm like, you are a kid, or you were a kid under who was owned by the Empire. This should not come as a shock to you that they're still doing this, but worse.
Just wait till she sees the baby, the space Nepal baby.
Yeah. the space cat baby.
Space cat kid, yeah.
All right, we are down to the last 3 episodes. So next week, April 17th, we'll have episode 13, Into the Breach. Episode 14 will come out on April 24th, Flash Strike, and April 15th will be the series finale, coming out on May 1st. The title is The Cavalry Has Arrived. Yeah, so what are your guys' predictions as we get into these final 3 episodes?
Kids team up to do an escape plot. That's definitely on my bingo card.
For sure.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if we'll see a little bit more of the path, like the return of Ventress and maybe a Quinlan cameo.
Emery is going to have some kind of wrap up of her. They're sort of looking like they're giving her some kind of redemption arc. So either she's going to have to go off grid or do something really sneaky so that she can stay working for but undermining the Empire. Like, she's going to have to make a choice. Emery's going to have to make a choice.
I think Emery's gonna die.
Or she's gonna.
I do too. That's what I was gonna say. I think I was
leading with the lighter options, which is that she's like, she has to make a choice. So she's either gonna decide to stay and undermine the Empire from within. She's going to go completely rogue and have to escape, or she's going to sacrifice herself to get the kids out.
Yeah.
Sacrifice herself for the kids. That's
I'm reading that I'm honestly thinking I agree with you too, because it's like she's done very little to practically help the kids. Like, the doll thing is great, it shows empathetic character development, but it's not like an actual thing that she's done to help the kids. So that's like, her redemption is still pretty like, no girl, that's not enough. So it's gonna have to be big, and I think she's gonna die for those kids.
I think her and Nalase.
Yeah,
and,
which is,
I think they're gonna team up.
Nalase is probably the very last of her kind.
Kamoan, yeah.
Kaminoan or whatever.
Or she's gonna sacrifice, or Emery's gonna sacrifice to let Nalase get away with the kids. One of the two.
Yeah,
we'll see.
But
either way,
right, and they'll team up.
The other question here, of course, is this going to be the end of Tanta space? Because once the location is known, they might have to scrub all their projects here.
Oh, well, we know that Project Necromancer doesn't go away.
Yeah,
we know that from the sequels. So I mean, and from Mandalorian,
could they tease well, I guess okay,
I can see it being like an abandoned base, but then it focuses in on a tube with a Snoke looking creature in it.
Yeah, I mean, what if after they lose these kids and Omega, they say, well, we have one specimen left, and it's like Grogu.
What if Emery and Hemlock die by killing each other? I think Hemlock has to die. Hemlock has to die too.
Hemlock's gotta go.
Because also he's getting more funding than Tarkin, and Tarkin is not happy.
Tarkin does not like that one bit.
Tarkin's not going to stand for that.
And Tarkin will want to take credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tarkin's not going to stand for that. His shoes are too small. He needs a new pair. He needs the funding.
His slippers.
His slippers. He's in slippers right now, and it's not very dignified.
Also, that title of the last episode, the cavalry has arrived. I mean, is that our clone rebellion?
Yeah, with Echo and Rex and
well, like Echo and Rex and the handful of clones that Rex has left, but maybe Cody's out there with a bunch of other guys. Right?
Yeah, because they were hinting that when they had that run in, and he does not arrest them.
I mean, I also wonder with the Republic Commandos too, right? Like they have maintained loyalty so thus far, and haven't seen any kind of shaking in their resolve. So are those commandos going down with the ship? As they discontinue all the rest of the other like regs.
I think that the Rex and all the non Order 66 clones swoop in to save the clones that are imprisoned, while Omega escapes with the kids and Nala Se.
Well, I mean, like, so okay, so they've been pretty good this season, where all the Imperials are now stormtroopers or they're TK troopers, but Tantus is still guarded by Republic commandos,
right?
Who would be
like
clones,
Scorch,
right? Like Scorch. So that's the thing I wonder is like, will the Republic commandos have any kind of redemption, or are they just diehards till the end?
Diehards till the end. That's my bet.
Yeah,
and then maybe some of them become like the homeless clones you see on the streets or something, like those who survive,
like the one in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, maybe the destruction of Tantus base is the reason they eventually go to Exegol.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean that would make sense, right? Because we've already seen they did a Palpatine drop with this, and he's already said Necromancer is the most important project in all the Empire. So so maybe he would move things after this.
And it's very interesting. I think I noticed that, the design of Exegol is way more culty and way less lab, and so that implies like a big shift in management or funding or whatnot, and so maybe the funding does go back to Tarkin because Palpatine can't justify it after Hemlock's impending failure, and then he has to turn to like private money with cultists to make it work.
The Sith cultist, yeah. Interesting. I mean, and also knowing that we get the Tales of the Jedi only 3 days after that finale. I wonder if there will be any threads that continue there. But
tangled webs being weaved.
I think that's about it. Any other stuff from the chats we want to address?
I
have been freezing left and right, and I am giving up.
Sorry, chat. We love you. We just
if there's been chat, I don't know. It says unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. I'm just having all kinds of tech.
Sorry, guys. The Empire
today,
is
and I
jamming
just
your
give up.
transmission. The Empire is jamming your transmission, you guys, and we're so sorry. We can't.
Right on. Well, then I think that wraps up what we got for this week. Of course, next week we'll come back and we'll be talking about episode 14, which is Into the Breach. So come back and join us. Wait, are we back next week, or we'll
I'm available next week, so
we'll find out.
Are we cross talking tonight?
I believe we're cross talking, so we should have Chuck coming in just a moment. We're going to talk to the guys from Geek Beast and see what they are talking about tonight. Hey, Chuck, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well. How y'all doing?
Doing all right. So what do you guys got going in Geek Beast tonight?
Oh man, there's a lot going on. Sesame Street decided to be a part of Evo. We're gonna talk about that.
Wait.
Evo Japan.
Wait, what is Evo?
Evo is the fighting game tournament
What?
that happens in Vegas. They have it in
Something
Japan
new.
as well. And Sesame Street is part of Evo. So they have gear that shows Sesame Street characters and playing fighting games. I so want
Okay.
these t-shirts. I so want these t-shirts. Who doesn't want those t-shirts?
That's the most chaotic thing I've
So
heard
that's
today.
yeah, Evo Japan and Sesame Street do a crossover in merch. Yeah.
All right then.
I mean,
that's
I mean,
fascinating.
I think it was just for the Super Bowl we had the Looney Tune characters teach
Mhm.
kids about the Super Bowl and how to play football, and we had the Looney Tune characters playing basketball now. There's all kinds of things they're using characters for now. Kids don't watch cartoons anymore, so they're like, hey, we got to use these characters somehow.
Wow, I mean, I just like there's so many possibilities with that. I'm just like can you just imagine like the Sesame Street fighting game?
That would be amazing. I'm surprised somebody hasn't
Play
made
as.
that with
Who would you
Muji.
play as?
You gotta play as Cookie Monster. Cookie
I was gonna
Monster
say
or Grover.
Cookie Monster's a freak, man.
Cookie Monster or Grover. One of the
Grover or Super Grover?
Super. That's true. That's true. Super.
He'll just like
Grover.
fly and crash into you. And
Yeah, yeah. You know, the count.
I'd kind of want to play Oscar the Grouch.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oscar the Grouch.
I think
yep.
he'd have some good special moves.
I think he'd have
so.
really good defensive moves because he just goes inside his can.
Inside his trash can. I'm surprised somebody hasn't made that yet, and they get pulled off the internet. But it become a cult classic. That would be a cult classic game.
That would be funny.
We also are talking about the Worm Mussy plushie. Yeah.
The what?
The Worm Mussy. Y'all remember what the Worm Mussy is?
No, what's that?
The Dune popcorn bucket.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah. There we go. Yeah,
so somebody made a plushie of it.
Wow.
We're gonna have to get worried when they start making a silicone mold of it. That's when we worry.
That's when you get worried. Yeah, that's when you get married.
Well, so that was a fun thing. What they had CinemaCon this past week, right? And that was the big news when Kevin Feige got on the stage to talk about one the new Captain America movie, but then he also talked apparently quite a bit about. I think they released like they let people watch 9 minutes of Deadpool, but he was also saying that there will be a popcorn bucket designed by Deadpool.
Yes. I saw that.
Yeah, I think it would be. I saw that too. We talked about it last Friday, and I'm speculating it's going to be a butt. You put your hand in his butt.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah,
that would make total sense.
Well, you've seen the collectible medallion or coin, right? That's like Deadpool's face on one side and Deadpool's butt on the other side.
No, but I think that would make total sense. Like the bottom of it would be his face, and you put your hand in his butt to get the popcorn out of it. Hey, Trey's coming in. He's like, "What? What?
Yeah, what did I just watch?
We're talking about the Deadpool popcorn bucket. What do you think the Deadpool popcorn bucket is going to be like?"
I saw one example. The top part was open. The bucket itself looks like a regular popcorn bucket, but it's got Deadpool's face. Right. And there's where his mouth is at the bottom of the popcorn bucket is a hole. So I guess you can either, I don't know, shake your popcorn out from the hole.
It's the sandworm mouth though too. They put the sandworm mouth on Deadpool.
Yeah, so I'm like, that sounds about what I would be expecting from Ryan Reynolds.
See, I expect his face to be on the bottom of the outside, and it'd be his butt. It'd be the lid on top of it, and you put your hand in his butt to pull out the popcorn.
Nothing would surprise me, honestly, with a Deadpool popcorn bucket.
Nothing.
Nothing would.
Nothing.
It's also just kind of good to see, Marvel is Kevin Feige is embracing it all.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
I mean
go ahead.
Popcorn buckets are the new thing. That's what's driving people to go to theaters these days.
Apparently so.
Everything you just said, and I can't lie. I mean, you could look behind me and you see I've got my Dune one. My Dune
Oh,
one
you
there,
got it.
and then
You got it right
I
there.
got the
Yeah.
Ghostbusters one right there.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I got the trap. The trap was
Yeah.
too cool to pass up.
Yeah.
It's fun, especially the thing is about the rarity of it all, right? If they're not gonna make another one of these bad boys, so you not only do you have to go out of your way to go grab it, and you might as well catch the movie while you're there as well. So it adds like a cool little rarity kind of thing to it. Got to catch them all. I like the whole popcorn bucket. This isn't new. It's been around for a while, but the rise of really going out of the way and making it a fun experience is
it's an easy way for theaters to make $20 to $40 extra too.
Dude, 50 with some of those trap buckets I
Yeah.
heard 50, 55. That's crazy.
Well, I also just love the quote from the AMC executive who was like, "We wouldn't have designed it if we knew you guys would all be sickos."
Oh, come on. There's no way that passed. And they like, come on.
They just
really?
counterpoint. They're lying, and they designed it because they know.
Like, come on. Let's not play that game. Let's be
Like, you know what you're doing. You guys know. Some of them are buying it, and some of them are taking it home themselves, and they know it.
Lean in. That's my whole thing. Lean in.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
So, are y'all excited about the season finale of Bad Batch?
Yeah, we've got our
Yeah.
prediction.
Yeah, it's shaping up pretty interestingly, and also knowing that Tales of the Jedi is only a couple of days later, I'm just kind of wondering what they're going to tee up, right? Because I don't think they've actually announced any other animated series, and there has consistently been an animated series ever since. Since well, I guess it went right from Clone Wars right into Rebels, really.
Rebels, yep.
Yeah. So from Rebels to Resistance to all the Visions and Bad Batch and
Batch. So, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting what they do. It's gonna be interesting what they do with Star Wars going forward.
Totally. Yeah. And we still, we're still tracking on all of these supposed projects that are in development, right? Like we haven't heard anything saying that Taika Waititi has stopped working on that. Like in theory, that's still out there. In theory, the Lando series is still out there. There's a lot.
Is Donald Glover still attached to Lando?
I hope not.
Donald Glover?
Yes,
yeah.
Last I heard, Donald Glover was still attached as a writer.
He's still attached. Him and his brother are still attached to it. Yeah.
Hopefully as writers when he's not acting as Lando, because he's not a great Lando.
Oh, you didn't like him as Lando?
No.
Oh, okay.
Lando
And I like Donald Glover too. I
like Donald Glover.
I'm a huge Donald Glover fan, and even I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Lando's like has a sexy about him. He's like the Roger Moore of James Bonds, but Roger Moore is not that attractive in comparison to Sean Connery,
right?
And so Lando is Billy D. Williams, who's also in the news. We're going to talk about that too. But
what's he in the news for?
Oh man,
being an old man.
Old man. He said he's okay with actors playing in blackface.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Come on.
He's a man of his era.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be. He's like
they were
80s, right?
anti-blackface.
Like 80s?
Yeah, 80s. Yeah. He's just old. He's like, I've got a couple years left.
Okay, Grandpa, get in the back to tank. Okay, Grandpa.
Let them do whatever they want. The kids do whatever they want to do.
Okay, Grandpa, get in the back to tank.
Yeah, right. So, but Billy D was like the sexiest black man alive back in the day.
He held the crown for a couple decades too.
Decades. I mean, he sold malt liquor to the black community single-handedly. He did with Colt 45.
Colt
45. So we all laugh about that, but yeah, that's what he did, and so it's gonna be interesting. And Donald Glover couldn't sell me Tic Tacs.
I did quite enjoy. Did you guys watch his take on Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yeah.
With
I enjoyed it. I
thought that
enjoyed
was
it.
great. Yeah.
I want to. I
You
know
won't?
it's I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
It is not what you think it is. It's not two
that,
sexy people fighting each other. It's not that.
Yeah.
and that worked. Donald Glover worked in that role because he's playing a different character in the Mr. and Mrs. Smith universe-ish kind of thing.
Mhm.
Whereas Lando's already established. You already know who how his vibe is, you know how he gets down, and that I think
Who would your guys' fan cast be for Lando?
Oh, easy. What's his name? Jean Pierre. What's the dude that was on
Reggae Jean Page.
Reggae Jean Page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Nope, I'm not going to argue with
I
that.
can see that.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Easy. Yeah.
Reggae
That's
Jean Page. Yeah.
That man
You know,
can
he's got the
seduce a brick
mysteriousness
wall.
about him. Yeah.
He can
See,
seduce a brick wall. I'm
that's
sure.
what Billy D. Williams was. He was
Exactly.
that.
I was like, no. Say
And
no more.
Donald
Say no more. I
Glover
understand
It's
completely.
not that. There's a
Donald Glover
difference,
is
right?
not that.
There's levels to this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Donald Glover's not that. You know, I would even say, at minimum, a Denzel Washington's son.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's better than Donald. Yeah.
He is. He's
For
better
that
than
role.
Donald for
For
that
that
role.
For
For
that
that
role.
role. But yeah, Reggae Jean Page would kill it.
Mhm. And I'd like to
Look,
see
she was
it be
like,
something
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not so
that'll do it.
serious.
Lexi's like, yeah, I'm out. Reggae Jean Page, that's it. You don't tell me anything else.
Yeah, see, because I was like, I see what you're saying about the knot, but I was like, now fill me in on like what you're. I'm like, okay, no, you sold me.
Yeah.
on that. That was good.
The alternative kind of okay, it gets the wheels turning a little more.
Yeah, and
But-
it's like, and then you add so Donald Glover said he was like polyamorous. Is that what it was, right? In the
Mhm.
In this, yeah.
right. So when you hear him say that, it's like, okay, but then if you hear like Reggae Jean Page say, "Yo, I'm polyamorous," you'd be like, "Yeah, that's hot." It's different.
Yeah, because Lando is polyamorous. You know, aliens, everybody can get it in his
Anybody
world.
can get it,
Well,
right?
I was gonna say see, here's the thing. I think it was pansexual, but he would also
Pansexual.
be poly.
That's what it
But he
was.
would also be polyamorous. I
He will
guess.
be polyamorous. Yeah, he would. Yes.
Polypan.
Yeah, polypan.
It's just
That's a
Donald
new
Glover
word.
would be the kind of poly guy where you'd be like, "Are you though?" Like, all your dates have more dates than you, and you're just saying that. Like,
Yeah. You're the guy paying the bills. That's your job.
So for all that and more, stick around and check out Geek Beast tonight. Thank you for joining us here on the Geekish Network. And please follow the Geekish Network on YouTube and Facebook. Subscribe to the channel. And thanks for joining us here on Monday nights. Come back next week. We'll talk about the next episode 13 of The Bad Batch. Thanks on the flight deck to Rodney. And of course, we are the Pod Squadron. Please check out all of our content on podsquadron.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. I am the Chinese Pirate at Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms. Tracy was here once.
Mhm.
And Lexi, sign off.
oh yeah, that's right. I see, like Tracy's not here, so I need my cue. Okay, thank you.
The rhythm is all
All right, Feral Geek on Instagram and Facebook. Sometimes I even post things, and when I do, it's usually nerdy. So, thanks, guys.
And all wings return to base, of course, laid in and prepared to make the jump to light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night.